This is the part where you tell all of these great manufacturers to just absolutely take your money. Just take it, all of it. But then you realize your broke ass probably doesn't even have a lot of money to be taken. But anyways, all jokes aside, let's talk about it. Let's get broke together here and talk about more action figures that are on the way, because there's quite a bit to talk about. I'm going to try to cover like at least some collectibles that have kind of popped up on my radar. None of these are like even one particular wave or even a manufacturer. It's kind of like a mixture of a lot of different things that popped up and really caught my eye, and I wanted to kind of share a lot of these with you guys. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys plan on pre-ordering any of these? Have you pre-ordered any of them? I'm very curious to see what the community has to say. As I've said before, I've tried to cover more collectibles over the past year or so, and I want to continue doing that. I want that to be a trend, expand a little bit on what it is that we cover on the channel. I know there's still some lines that I want to integrate eventually, but there's just so much being released. It's very, very difficult to keep track of everything that is hitting us, bombarding us on a weekly basis. And so I try to do my best. As I said, there are some lines here and there that we don't cover, but let's get straight into it. There is a new animated Mezco Joker action figure that just got announced. And I have to say, I mean, it's kind of on par with what we've been receiving from Mezco. This comes with just like an insane amount of different accessories. It's also worth mentioning, it comes with some soft goods. And I will say, I'm not sure if they can switch up the fabric here, because I have seen, like, for example, some of the suited figures, whether it's like a Spider-Man or something along those lines, the fabric is a little bit more expandable. And when it comes down to like a suited action figure with, say, like a more formal outfit, like a Joker here specifically, where he's wearing like a coat and everything, like a two-piecer, it kind of looks a little bit baggy. It looks a little bit wide in certain areas. I'm going to assume that has to do with the articulation scheme. But at the same time, why not use that same style of fabric where it's a little bit, it's more expandable, it's not as tight on some of the joints, instead of making the baggy formal suits that just don't really look great. So in certain positions, in certain photographs, the figure does display incredibly well, but when it's upright, I don't know, it looks kind of what like people would wear in the like late 80s, early 90s, with the really baggy dress pants and then the really wide and baggy 3-button suits. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily feeling the look, especially in like a very generic pose, like in an upright pose. If you're doing just, you know, a little bit more action, if the butterfly joints or the arms are kind of flailing or posed in a very specific way, it kind of fills out the suit a little bit better. But as I said, in certain images, you could see that the figure was a little bit baggy. So usually Mezco does a pretty good job of hiding the fact that these are figures with soft goods. Here, not so great. I'm not saying it's a bad figure. In certain poses, it just doesn't look great. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think they do a great job of hiding the whole, or steering away from the whole quote-unquote doll look. But in this particular instance, you can kind of see it from afar. It kind of looks like it belongs in like a Mattel Barbie line. Just saying, okay? But having said all of that, the figure does display incredibly well. Some of these photographs, I'm going to assume, don't do the figure justice. Once we actually see some in-hand reviews, we'll definitely get a closer look at it. But this figure is supposed to come with 10 interchangeable hands, as well as 4 head sculpts. It comes with 2 Joker fish, 3 different grenades, a knife, a cane, a pie, some playing cards, a TNT bomb, a wristwatch, and a few other great accessories. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Mezco has probably the best 1/12 accessories out there in the market. They do an absolutely brilliant job. There's a reason that some of their collectibles are on the pricier side. Obviously, the fact that these figures are very well articulated with soft goods, like that alone makes some of these figures very expensive. But the fact that they're throwing in just an insane amount of accessories, that definitely brings the action figure together extremely well. I already pointed out some of the minor little problems that I have with the figure, but as a whole, it looks phenomenal. This is definitely a lot of people's prototypical vision of Joker, and this is an absolutely killer reveal. It's set to be released sometime at the beginning of 2026. There's a release date on Big Bad Toy Store of February, but let's just assume it's, you know, between that time frame, about like January to March. It's also worth mentioning that they're actually including the tariff surcharges now. If you guys check the description at the bottom of the listing, it actually explains that all of the tariff surcharges are now included in the price, and there is a slight chance that they eventually change depending on whatever new policies are being enacted. Now, this is a line that I don't really cover, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. I'm going to try to expand a little bit more. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be talking about Funko Pops in every single video, but it's something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is Lord of the Rings. They just announced 2 new Funko Pops. There's a new Frodo Funko Pop as well as a new Gollum Funko Pop, and it's really cool because not only are these glow in the dark, but the base of the Funko Pop is actually the ring from Lord of the Rings, which is absolutely phenomenal. I really love this. Now, I'm not sure exactly what part of the Funko actually lights up. I'm going to assume that it's the ring base, which is pretty cool. Honestly, as I said, I don't really collect a lot of Funko Pops. I'm not somebody that has, you know, hundreds of these. I maybe have like maybe 10 to 20 of these. I usually only pick up stuff that's very near and dear to my heart that maybe I grew up watching or listening to, and this is just a perfect example. I'm not sure if they have a ton of these Lord of the Ring Funko Pops. I may do a video where I circle back around and check out any of the older Funko Pops for Lord of the Rings, but these 2 definitely caught my eye. They're very intricate. I love the base, and I love the glow in the dark feature for sure. And then this isn't technically like a pre-order window or even an announcement. It's more of just a teaser. Bandai decided to release a new image for their Scarlet Spider action figure, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not 100% sure if this is just a repaint or a reissue of a Scarlet Spider that they had in the past, because I don't really keep up to date too much with Bandai products. However, I love this. I love the insane amount of paint that is all over this figure. The shading is absolutely phenomenal, not to mention the great sculpt work, the belt area, the gauntlets. This figure just comes together extremely well. And just to clarify, we don't have like any legitimate information when it comes down to this figure aside from this little teaser image. I'm assuming that later we'll get a closer look at some of the extra hands, extra accessories, price point, and then release date. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we may see this figure at SDCC at some point, like at their booth displayed somewhere. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that we get a closer look at this figure very soon, because as I said, it has definitely piqued my interest. I do have the Scarlet Spider from the Marvel Legends line, which I actually really enjoyed. I think they did an absolutely killer job with it, but this one is definitely one that I'm going to keep my eye on moving forward. And then lastly, I just couldn't let this week go without talking about this new Al Pacino Scarface action figure, because this thing looks absolutely insane. It's going to come with 4 interchangeable, or I should say 4 pairs of interchangeable hands, a wristwatch, a necklace, a pistol, and a rifle. And this is coming to us from Beast Kingdom. We know that they do some phenomenal DC action figures, and they've even dabbled with Disney, but this is definitely something that I did not expect from them. And it's honestly kind of mind-boggling that we don't get more of these type of action figures that are based on particular films like this. This just looks absolutely insane. There's a ton of soft goods on this figure. You can actually display it with the entire suit, and then you can actually take the coat off and just display him in his red long sleeve button-up shirt. And I will say, at the beginning of the video, I was kind of criticizing Mezco. I wouldn't say criticizing, but I just wanted to point out the fact that the soft goods, or the soft suit that he was wearing, looked a little bit too big. It looked a little bit puffy in certain promotional shots. And here with Tony, it looks completely different. It drapes over his body. It feels like it hangs on his body instead of puffing out. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Maybe it's different fabric. Maybe it's a higher end fabric. I'm not 100% sure, but the suit on Tony just looks much better. It looks way more natural than the suit that Mezco decided to give Joker. I will say the head sculpt is actually pretty good. There's the Al Pacino likeness in there for sure, but I will say, and again, this is just my personal opinion, but over the past few years, even though technology is supposed to be getting better, I feel like a lot of different manufacturers are having issues with likenesses for certain actors and actresses. I think Hasbro has had the same problem, especially with their Black Series line. I know that SH has even had some problems with their newest Superman action figure, and the list goes on and on. I'm not sure why that is. This one is not like a perfect representation of Al Pacino in my personal opinion, at least not how we looked in that film, but it's definitely not the worst head sculpt. I think they could have done much worse. I think there is definitely some room for improvement there, but I really like the faceplate here. I love the design. You can even see some wrinkles kind of popping through the skin, and then even a little bit of a bag forming under his eyes. There's just a ton of detail. I absolutely love the way that this figure is coming together. If you guys are interested in picking it up, it is set to release at the end of 2025. I'm not sure how solid that date is, but it's really exciting to see action figures take, or manufacturers that make action figures take on really obscure movies like this. And I wouldn't necessarily call it like an obscure movie per se, but I think collectibles based on a film like that are definitely obscure because not everybody that's into the film is collecting action figures. But this is a phenomenal looking figure, and as always, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. There's definitely a ton to talk about when it comes down to action figures. Everybody's ramping up for San Diego Comic-Con. Everybody's trying to get all of their figures and all of their pre-orders out there. I'm sure there are going to be way more reveals at the actual convention itself. They're gonna have stuff posed around in glass display shelves. It's all very fun and exciting. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you guys going to pick up any of these? Are you excited for the convention itself? Stay safe out there. Enjoy the hobby. Pose your action figures. Play around with them. And make sure to stay tuned because we are uploading at least on a daily basis, sometimes even more. I know there were a few days here and there where I did not upload, but as I said, the goal is to upload on a daily basis. And I absolutely love it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it just as much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.